cliched story that's weekly delivered, repetitious levels and objectives, and brutal checkpoints stand out like flashes from a solar flare in Strike Suit Zero. Still, for its missteps, Strike Suit Zero might just be the closest many of us will get to flying an X-Wing in an epic, Star Wars-like space battle. Skirmishes often involve swarms of ships, and swinging your fighter around for a strafing run on an enemy capital ship, or blasting another fighter into debris feels appropriately badass. In the one department that really matters to a space combat game, you know, the space combat, Strike Suit Zero delivers. Skirmishes often involve swarms of ships, and swinging your fighter around for a strafing run on an enemy capital ship, or blasting another fighter into debris feels appropriately badass. Despite taking place in the vastness of space, Strike Suit Zero manages to produce pretty environments nonetheless. Skyboxes with planets in the background, swirling nebulous clouds, and debris-ridden battlefields keep things looking fresh. The starships also look decent, and though this isn't going to blow anyone away with its visuals, the sheer amount of ships on screen feels like a good trade. The chaos of battle comes across as you deftly fly through formations of fighters, launch missiles at incoming capital ships, and pull off G-force driving turns. The fantastic score also helps set the mood and drive the fights too. While it gets across the look and feel of space battles, Strike Suit Zero stumbles when it comes to the story. Narrative delivery is tough when you're always in a cockpit, and the cliched tale just isn't all that engaging when told through a series of in-game cutscenes and static images. You feel like you've heard it all before. You're a disgraced pilot named Adams, and while you're out proving yourself again, a big battle begins. Your main force is damaged, and now it's up to you to save humanity. To stop this predictable threat though, you've been given the titular Strike Suit Zero, a one-of-a-kind starship that can temporarily transform between a mech and a fighter craft. The story just ultimately doesn't matter all that much, serving mostly as a backdrop for a series of battles. I didn't care about who I was or feel any connection to Adams. Thankfully, story isn't the main reason to play a game like Strike Suit Zero. The reason you should play Strike Suit Zero? To feel the thrill of rending swarms of enemies with the goddamn strike suit. Space combat, even without the strike suit, is a blast. The tension that comes with lining up the perfect shot or barely destroying an enemy in the nick of time makes most missions feel like a white-knuckle affair. The suit itself also empowers the hell out of you. You kill things and charge up an energy bar, allowing you to temporarily transform into a mech that can launch swarms of missiles and waste whole groups of enemies in a single pass. Balancing transformation, ammo count, speed and maneuvering, and juggling targets is just intense enough to demand your attention and feel rewarding, without ever feeling overwhelming or too bogged down in simulation. If you put the time in to learn the capabilities of your ship, then you'll be a fighting ace in no time, taking on seemingly impossible objectives like you were born to fly. The learning curve's just right. The combat's good enough to carry Strike Suit Zero's 8 or so hour campaign, despite repetitive level design. Every mission boils down to either kill X or defend Y. By the time you're 3 missions in, you've also basically encountered every enemy type or situation you'll face too. Blasting enemy frigates or fighters never stops being fun, but Strike Suit Zero could have been a hell of a lot better with some more inspired levels, or perhaps more enemies to fight. It also doesn't help that when you die, and you will because it gets pretty damn hard sometimes, the checkpoints aren't very forgiving. What's more, you can't ever save mid-mission. You either finish it in one sitting or you restart it when you play it again. Replaying parts of missions because of bad checkpoints sucks, but Strike Suit Zero provides good incentive to try them again for its unlockables. You're scored at the end of every stage, and depending on how you do, you'll unlock new weapons. Every mission also has secondary objectives that if you complete will unlock permanent upgrades to every ship. It's enough to make you go out of your way to destroy ships outside your mission parameters, and to incentivize fighting harder and replaying stages to see if you can do just a little bit better. Strike Suit Zero's flaws don't keep it from being a whole lot of fun. It may not tell the greatest story, have all that original level design, and have some brutal checkpoints, but zipping in among starships and blowing waves of enemies out of the sky with the strike suit feels enthralling nonetheless. For more on Strike Suit Zero, you can go to IGN.